you want to export, you have to go through America. Grain from Saskatchewan has to go through American railways. Minerals from Manitoba have to go through American ports. Every shipment, every container, every ton of goods flows through a logistics system controlled by American companies, from scheduling and pricing to shipping fees. But now, amid escalating trade tensions in 2025, Canada is doing something nobody thought possible, building a completely independent way out. The question is no longer whether Canada has the guts. It's whether America can stop a nation determined to control its own destiny. The Hudson Bay Railway was built in the 1920s and 30s with the ambition of connecting Western Canada directly to Europe through the board of Churchill, bypassing the American transportation system. However, this ambition failed for 90 years, not from lack of political will, but because of brutal geographic conditions, permafrost, cracking the rails, muskeg swamps, swallowing foundations, temperatures of minus 40 degrees Celsius, making steel brittle on ice in Hudson Bay, only allowing shipping 4 months a year. By the 1990s, the Canadian government sold the entire line to the American company Omnitrax for just $1, and the company operated it at minimal levels without any additional investment. In 2017, a major flood destroyed large sections of track. Omnitrax declared repair costs too high and completely abandoned the line, leaving Churchill, a town of 900 people, totally isolated from the outside world, with only planes and seasonal ships remaining. But in 2018, the unthinkable happened. The Arctic Gateway Group, a consortium of 41 First Nations communities and local governments, bought back the entire railway and the Port of Churchill. They weren't railway engineers. They weren't Wall Street investors. They were people who had lived on this land for thousands of years, people who understood that if nobody else wanted to invest in Churchill's future, they would do it themselves. And they did. Over the next 2 shipping seasons, Arctic Gateway transported grain and minerals through Churchill. Not much, just a few train runs, but enough to prove one thing: this route wasn't dead. It was just waiting. In November 2025, the Canadian and Manitoba governments decided to invest $262 million to completely rebuild the railway, not to patch it up. Every section of track is being replaced with heavy-duty steel bridges, and culverts are being upgraded for climate resilience. And most importantly, they're installing advanced monitoring systems with ground-penetrating radar, drone, LiDAR, and GPS sensors analyzed by AI in real time. This is 21st century infrastructure designed to transport millions of tons of grain, minerals, and fertilizer every year under the harshest Arctic conditions. The strategic goal is to make Canada trade independent, no longer reliant on the American logistics system. Genesis Fertilizers, Saskatchewan's largest fertilizer company, has signed a shipping agreement through Churchill, meaning every ton of cargo doesn't have to pay fees, wait in line, or follow schedules dictated by American companies. This story isn't just about a railway line. It's about Canada realizing that dependence always comes with a price, and sometimes the price of independence is $262 million for a route through the most desolate land on Earth. Let's talk about what's actually going to move through Churchill, because this isn't theoretical. Saskatchewan and Manitoba produce wheat and canola on a massive scale, enough to feed hundreds of millions of people worldwide. But every ton of grain from field to European market has to make a long journey, Canadian rail to the border, transfer to American rail, down to American ports, then finally across the Atlantic. Every transfer point is a fee. Every stop is an opportunity for someone to take a cut. Churchill changes that math completely. From Saskatchewan to Churchill is significantly shorter than going down to Vancouver or through American states. And from Churchill to Liverpool, Rotterdam, Hamburg, Europe's biggest ports, it's a straight shot across the North Atlantic. No detours. No middleman fees. But grain is just the beginning. Saskatchewan holds 95% of the world's potash reserves, the essential fertilizer the world can't grow crops without. Genesis Fertilizers isn't the only company seeing the opportunity. When you're shipping millions of tons a year, saving a few bucks per ton means tens of millions in profit. And every ton going through Churchill is a ton not putting money in American logistics companies' pockets. Then there are critical minerals. Lithium for batteries, cobalt for electric vehicles, nickel for stainless steel, rare earths for high-tech. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Quebec, they're all packed with the minerals the world needs for the energy transition. Arctic Gateway proved over 2 consecutive seasons they can ship these minerals through Churchill. Not perfectly, but enough for mining companies to see this isn't a pipe dream anymore. It's a real option. And then there's energy. Alberta, the heart of Canada's energy sector, is proposing an energy corridor to Churchill. Not just oil, but liquefied natural gas hydroelectric power converted to ammonia, even electricity transmission. All pointed at Churchill, all aimed at reaching European and Asian markets without asking Washington's permission. Meanwhile, Nunavut, Canada's vast Arctic territory depends entirely on seasonal supply ships. Food, fuel, construction materials, everything gets shipped in during a few short months each year. Massive costs, complicated logistics, and always the risk of shortages. Churchill could become the logistics hub for Canada's entire Arctic cutting costs and strengthening sovereign presence in a region Russia and China are increasingly interested in. And here's the beautiful part of Canada's strategy: America can barely retaliate. This isn't a tariff Washington can slap back. It's not a trade agreement that can be dragged to the WTO. Canada is investing in its own infrastructure on its own territory to serve its own national interests. America can complain, it can threaten, it can talk about North American security or allied relations. But at the end of the day, they can't stop Canada from building a railway on Canadian soil or stop Canadian companies from choosing which port to export through. This is pure sovereignty, enforced not with words, but with steel concrete and $262 million of real investment. Let's talk about Churchill. Not the numbers, not the geopolitical strategy, but the people. 900 people living at the northern terminus of this railway line. No highway connecting them to the rest of Canada. No big box stores. In winter, temperatures drop to minus 40 degrees Celsius, and the sky stays dark for 18 hours a day. Polar bears roam the streets so often, the town has a professional bear patrol. An engineer named Nathan, 28 years old, grew up in Churchill before his family moved away after the railway was abandoned. Now he's working for the Arctic Gateway Group. He told me, "I left because I thought there was nothing here anymore. Now I'm back because I realize this is the most important place in the entire country." This story isn't just about a railway line. It's about a nation's decision to turn independence from a slogan into reality with steel and concrete. If you find in-depth strategic analysis like this valuable, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the geopolitical stories few dare to tell. The $262 million Churchill project may seem expensive, but it delivers priceless strategic value, autonomy, and the ability to say no when necessary, transforming the Canada-US relationship from must depend to can cooperate. Ottawa recognizes the importance of building independence in many other areas, while Washington faces a painful lesson: assumptions about an ally's absolute dependence can absolutely be shattered. Churchill proves that investing in alternatives is the most effective way to claim self-determination without direct confrontation or loud political declarations. The most important question: are you building relationships based on real value, or just because you lack options? History proves that whenever someone is locked in a system with no way out, the first thing they do when they get a chance is find a way to leave. Share your thoughts in the comments. Is this a smart move by Canada, or just an expensive investment in a route that can never compete? We'll pin the best comments. This video is a hypothetical analysis product synthesizing economic, political, and international trade trends based on public information